Hello! I've been doing a lot of live streams lately. I love talking with you all. Some breaking news. I actually was going to do a very important video on the secrets of the universe today, but a lot of things have actually happened the past 24 to 48 hours. A lot. I would have made that video yesterday, but for the fact that I had been outside and did a lot of walking, about 3 miles of walking, and I got really sunburned. I just felt really run down. Yeah, so apologize for that. How are you doing? It's about a list and some other secrets. I want to ask you a question first before starting this video. Ooh, did you hear that thunder and lightning outside? Wow. I know you probably don't know this city that I'm in, but it's a college town. It's not conservative or liberal. And it's always been isolated when the economy gets bad. Have you noticed where you're at that people have become, right on the edge, unhinged? It's just, kind of like you've entered in a parallel universe. You're living in the same place you've always lived, essentially, and yet everybody's different. Not in always a very demonstrable way, but, it's just like, where am I at? This is the same place I've always lived, and yet it's different. I actually don't care about politics. I only care about, having my head on a swivel and looking what's going on out there in the world. I'm going to hold my hands, I'm going to put my hands like he does. Yeah, and I'm neither for or against this guy. I just want to, the economy to be good and everybody to be happy and normal. I don't know if there's ever been a time like that in the world. Essentially, there hasn't been. But this is what old Cheeto Jesus said. He said, America should not be wasting the time and effort and energy on Jeffrey. These are his words, by the way. Somebody nobody even cares about. Sorry. He was talking about it up to getting elected. He was talking about it nonstop. And just like 48 hours or so ago, maybe it's been 72, he says, What? What are you still talking about this guy for? I mean, come on. I'm sorry. This is actually not funny, especially his base. And if you think I'm part of his base, I'm not part of anybody's base. The only thing that I cleave myself towards is wisdom. Curtis Jackson, replying to El Presidente, said, This is more gaslighting. I thought you were above this. You'll never hear the end of this if you don't instruct the complete release of the names of those in power, that may or may not have done things in D.C. and Hollywood. Well, this guy that he's talking about, and I never, ever cared about this guy, and I never followed it closely. But what it's going to do is I don't think he realized, he might come to the realization, there's breaking news on this just as of an hour ago, that this is going to destroy his base. He's going to lose the midterms over this, and he's going to lose his base completely. But I don't know if that really matters, since he's not going to be running again. I mean, this is his second term. The guy that I honestly, because there's so many important things about paying bills, and we've all got blinders on to a certain level, and is that the guy that he's talking about that's not on this earth anymore, he ran a honeypot operations for and was a handler for Mossad. And as they say in Russia, the ЦРУ. ЦРУ stands for the C and the I and the A. I mean, he was a handler and he was running a honeypot operation. There's pictures of piles of boxes of DVDs and recording media. The oldest game in the book on this earth, the oldest profession, you think you know what it is, right? Well, the oldest profession is, I'm going to call it something different. I'm going to call it dark mail. Just not to use that word, Yeah. Dark male. I think you know what I'm talking about. What's the color of this stone? One Nation. There's an interesting book, by the way. You can find it on Amazon. It's by Whitney Webb. I'm not a fan of hers or her YouTube videos, but she does write some really good stuff. I'm going to call it Dark Male again, but the title of her book is One Nation Under a Dark Male. Check it out on Amazon. Hollywood, business, and politicians were flown on to Fantasy Island. Yeah, that's their fantasy, right? Everybody else's nightmare, but their fantasy. Yeah, they were flown to Fantasy Island. Old Dan Bongino, who I think he used to be head of Secret Service, and of course he had his little podcast thing there forever and ever. I think he was very successful making videos and interviewing people. And I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. I don't know the guy at all. I always thought he was a guy of integrity, but I don't know him, so my assumptions on that were wrong. But I made a prediction that when he decided to go work for Washington there, the current administration, that he couldn't stand the hypocrisy and the evil of it all. And he'd been out of work, and the scuttlebutt was that he was going to quit over this issue about them not releasing the files, the paperwork. Well, the breaking news is of like an hour ago that Dan Bongino has stepped down as FBI deputy director. He's directly underneath. I mean, that's huge news. Huge. The announcement apparently is coming soon, but it's confirmed that he's stepped down. I don't know if you're familiar with the Streisand effect, but old Cheeto Jesus. The only reason I say Cheeto Jesus is so I'm not using his name, and I think the phrase Cheeto Jesus is really funny, and I got a good sense of humor. Streisand effect is a phenomenon where in an attempt to hide, remove, or censor information, inadvertently, stupid people, inadvertently leads to increased public awareness of that information. This used to be called Baudelarization, facilitated mostly by the internet. It's basically a backfire effect. On Saturday, Cheeto Jesus gave a master class in the Streisand effect. I don't know why people are talking about that guy. Why are you still talking about that guy? It's totally not important. I don't know if that's a good imitation. I don't pretend to be an imitator. And his exact words, Cheeto Jesus. America should not waste time and effort on Jeffrey. Somebody that nobody cares about. Well, I never cared about him. I've always cared about the truth getting out there. But I knew it was never going to happen. There's mountains of DVDs and all sorts of recording media. I mean, he was running a honeypot operation. The oldest profession in the book is like, you could talk, but I got information on you, So you might not want to talk. You might want to zip your lips. Kind of like the Godfather, right? Right? You could say stuff, but it would be MAD, mutually assured destruction, Kind of like what we have between nations. Like, you do something, and I do something, and pretty soon none of us is going to be around. That's why I knew this was never going to happen. There's too much dirt on too many peoples, you see? What we got here is a failure to communicate. This is not funny, but I knew this would happen. I never spent more than a microsecond thinking about this thing the whole time. Everybody asked me about it. I was like, I don't care. It's too much drama. I mean, this is one of the oldest things imaginable. There's really big news, though, that Dan Bongino stepped down. I knew he couldn't take it. I foresaw this. Like, this guy seems to have integrity, even though I don't know them. He's a person that has always been pounding the table, saying he stood for the truth, and that, he had to hang up his microphone, and he was asked by the administration to go, I was like, this guy isn't going to last. If he does actually have integrity, he's going to have to step down because they're going to do something like this. And this has happened, and he is stepping down. So Cheeto Jesus gave a master class in the Streisand effect. When you let the cat out of the bag, too, people say, why don't they release it? People don't think, do they? People don't think. It's the same reason why we don't have free energy. Government does have free energy devices. The anti-gravity craft is not even amazing to me. It's you have to have a free energy device's powering. They never let that go. The same reason, but when you let the cat out of the bag, you lose leverage on the people that you're trying to, I'm going to use the inappropriate, just so I don't say the word, dark mailing. You lose leverage. You let that info fly away, fly away. You lose all leverage. You really think they're going to let that happen? It's mutually assured annihilation for an enormous amount of people. Pam herself, you know who I'm talking about, Pam, you know, the blonde-haired lady, said the list is on her desk. I mean, it's from an interview from back in February. She said, the list is on my desk, she says. The lawyer, Dershowitz, says he's seen the list. That was a Fox News interview from February when Bonde said that the files right now are sitting on my desk to review. Well, I mean, that was a total... Now they're denying it ever existed. Pretty soon they'll say the guy never existed. He never existed. He was a figment of your imagination. Huh? I knew this would happen. I never cared about this, but it took me less than a microsecond months ago to figure out this is exactly what would happen. Yeah, now they say it doesn't exist. The anger. I went on to his own version of Twitter, Truth Social, and where he was telling everybody, so this person, nobody cares about this person. Nobody cares. Well, you're still talking about that guy, huh? Everybody was so angry. It's just thousands of... I must have went through 1,000 posts. So, people so angry. The only reason I was laughing is not because it's funny, it's because I saw this 100%. You can't lose leverage like that. You can't have this mutually assured annihilation that would ensue. Let me just be bedlam. Dogs and cats living together. It's just so easy to predict this. Yeah, the anger on the comments on his page is just absolutely off the hook. By the way, I never cared about politics. The Platonists and the Pythagoreans, they actually had a really, really easy way around this. And by the way, the United States is not a democracy. In case you didn't know, it's a constitutional republic. The word democracy is not used in the Bill of Rights or Declaration of Independence. This is a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. All democracy leads into what we're kind of having now and what's happening up in New York where they, you know, they gave the big thumbs up to a Marxist guy who wants to destroy all businesses. Everybody's fleeing like a rat from a sinking ship in New York, anybody that has any money at all. They're just going to turn it into a wasteland. That's what happens when you actually have real democracy. And the United States ain't a democracy. American democracy. It's like, what? This place is not a democracy. Anyway, the answer the Platonists had, and this would be the best. The process is super slightly complicated, but not really. So you take the wisest people, say a cabal of about 10 or 20. The wisest, not the smartest or the most well-regarded or the people with the most degrees. Literally the wisest. And they would pick a person for a period of time who didn't want the job to take care of things. It's like you got the 20 of the wisest people and they pick someone out who absolutely, desperately doesn't want the job to take care of things. Take care of things. That's the answer. That's the best answer. You know, you let rack and rabble, you know, decide who is looking out after you. End up with people like you just pick the names. I'm not going to name the names. People that are like, my God. People point at them, but it's like those people wouldn't be there if it wasn't for all the people underneath them decided that's a good person to represent us. It's like, what's wrong with these people? Democracy, which is not a good thing. I'm not for democracy. I don't care about politics, but I'm definitely not for democracy. This is a constitutional republic here in the USA, in case you didn't know. And also, too, don't confuse corporatism with capitalism either. I do not. Problem we have in the United States is the big cities are absolutely abysmal. They're unsafe, and they're vile, and they're completely reprehensible. There's an old saying that says, if it's blue, it's either lying or crying or screaming. And then after that it said, it's a meme I saw, which is accurate though. If it's blue, it's either lying, crying, or screaming. Then it said, don't vote blue. Ron Paul, by the way, from Kentucky, the father of Rand Paul, said the U.S. dollar is about to collapse. I completely agree with that. I know it's about to collapse. The stuff that I see coming out of the UK is absolutely mind-blowing. It just keeps getting worse. I didn't think the UK could get any worse, but it just keeps... They have... I posted up on my Facebook. They got an old guy, looks like he's about 85 years old, and he's on the street corner, sitting on the street, on the curb, and then some bobbies, Muppets, some bobbies are asking the guy, did you just say that guy to speak English? Here go these people recording and filming it. It's totally real. And the old guy's, like I said, at like 85 years old. He told somebody, he didn't understand some guy, he told him to speak English in the UK. Yeah? And then the coppers, the Muppets. What's the correct British term for the bobbies? I think the correct term is Muppet. At least I hear a lot of British people calling them Muppets. I think that's the correct English parlance. They said, you know, that's could be considered, you know. Basically, they were talking about locking Grandpa up because he told somebody he doesn't speak English. Sorry, it's so funny. It's not funny because it's funny. It's funny because it's like, wow, this is really 1984. This is George Orwellian stuff. I don't know how proud the UK peeps are, the British folk. I said, dear fellow. Light spiffing of you there to get old Grandpa on the curb like that, you know? People in Europe that go back and forth between France and the UK say that, and the folks there are going to have to confirm this to me, that the peeps in Paris and London, they say nobody wants to go to London anymore. It used to be a vacation spot. Shoppers, and they said nobody wants to come to London anymore. I don't know how true that is, but the people in Paris and the UK say that it's coming. What's coming? The CW. I'll give you one guess what CW stands for. Anyway, people in Paris and the UK say CW is coming, CW is coming. I'd like to ask British and Parisians if that's actually true, but I'm relying on many more than a dozen sources that seem to confirm that that's what everybody's talking about. There is nothing honorable or noble about inviting people into your house that mooch off of your food and wreck your house, because I know all these people that have tons of rental property, and rental means you don't own it, and if you don't own it, unless you're that much less than a noble person, I always take care of stuff that's not my own. I can't stand it when I see other people, oh, that's not mine, I don't have to take care of it. They'll destroy stuff that's not theirs. Well, it's a rental property, who cares, you know? They wreck rental property. And the same is true of happening in these places in Europe. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, it's just the absolute worst thing you could do against your own people. To destroy a people's, you know, and or a culture, I mean, how is that in any way noble? It's not good for anybody. I mean, I dare you to try to argue that it is. That's not my position. That's a demonstrable fact. What people think, feel, and believe is no importance to me. Neither is what I think, feel, or believe. I'm interested in facts. If you've been on a live stream with me, I'm brutally honest about myself. There's like a little bug flying around in here. I had the door open. Only bugs love to fly in. I'm very, very honest about myself. This isn't good for anybody. By the way, this is just breaking in 48 hours ago. I told everybody for years now, I said Putin has no reverse gear. I said Putin has no reverse gear. I told you that over and over again, and all the evidence proves that I'm 1,000% correct, which apparently is the reason why Cheeto Jesus just said, we got to give a lot of military hardware to Ukraine. There's a big announcement tomorrow morning in D.C. on Monday, and that apparently Lindsey Graham, I have no love for the guy at all, but he does have insider info, says that Trump, Cheeto Jesus, is going to unleash military hardware to Ukraine at, quote, record levels. At record levels. And I saw that coming too. I mean, he said that, Cheeto Jesus cut off a lot of the military hardware to Ukraine. Yeah? I don't care what your position is one way or the other. I love Ukrainians. I'd love to go back to Ukraine because I've been there 3 times. Very, very beautiful place. I'd love to go back there. I can never afford that. I would certainly love to if I had money. I'd go back there. But because Rootin' Tootin' Putin doesn't have a reverse gear, he is going to release a tidal wave of military hardware to Ukraine. I've said a million times, too, that the United States and the Department of Defense does not care about Ukraine. We don't. Sorry if that offends you, but it's the truth. It is a proxy conflict with Mother Russia. It's a proxy conflict with Russia. Because the economy, no matter how much people protest, they're wrong. People are like, Rand is really strong. And I said to everybody, no, Rand's paper tiger. No, it's not. It's really powerful. Like, no, it's not. It's paper tiger. Well, what happened last month? Very, very quick collapse. Psst. Paper tiger. Paper tiger. I think, since I grew up knowing kind of military hardware the United States has and a lot of the countries, that I have a better insight into this than most people. I think most people just don't have a clue. They just have no idea what we actually have. The countries that boast about having it don't have it. And countries like the USA that have stuff that is just mind-blowing, next level, they don't talk about it. Crickets, don't hear nothing. It's that old saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. The people say they got it, ain't got it. And the people that don't talk about it really got it. And this is very, very true. So tomorrow's announcement's going to be big. We're going to send over a lot of hardware to Ukraine. I noticed that somebody said recently, and I don't care one way or another, they said, Cheeto Jesus' IQ got leaked, and it's a 70. Well, I got news for you if you're European. 99% of the people that like him and, voted for the guy, they don't care if it was a 20. They wouldn't care if his IQ was a 20. Why? Because it's way better than a communist. Like, I'll take the guy's IQ with 70 versus the communist. The greatest sins I've ever seen in my life and throughout history have been done by unwise, intelligent people. The most dangerous entity is an intelligent, unwise person. That's not my opinion. That's a fact, girlfriend. It's a fact. So, I see a lot of people on boards talking about it. Hey, his IQ's been leaked. It's a 70. Yeah, but they wouldn't care if it was 20. Because even a 20 IQ is better than a communist. Here's the real truth of it. The other real truth, and I said this a couple of videos ago, the conservatives that I know, and I know more than a few, they never thought Cheeto Jesus was conservative. He was always thought as to be a liberal, actually. They don't like him. Real so-called conservatives. They don't like Cheeto Jesus. But what they like is the fact that he's 1,000 times better than a socialist is. And that's why they support him. Europeans don't get that. People that live in New York and California and Washington State and these cafe latte sipping troglodytes that drive Subarus and have purple hair. They don't get that. It's like, which vote for that guy? You know he's not that bright. It's like, yeah, but he's not a socialist. You know, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. That's not politics. That's just grassroots facts. They don't like the guy. They support him because he's not a socialist. They know he's not going to wreck their business. He might still wreck their business, but at least not intentionally. Like that guy that was just voted as the Democratic leader up in New York City. You know, the guy that literally has told you he wants to wreck everything. Everybody's like selling their property and moving away from New York, and they're all scared to death because he knows he's going to wreck the economy. Wreck it! So, big stuff is coming around the corner, unfortunately. Still recovering from that sunburn. Yeah, I did a lot of walking. I walked 2 miles plus today, too, so I hope you have a lovely week. Lux Veritas. I keep losing weight. What did I have today? I had rotisserie chicken and a half a cantaloupe. I love cantaloupe. That cantaloupe keeps beckoning to me from the refrigerator. I shouldn't be eating cantaloupe. Whatever. I'm eating all natural stuff. No processed foods. Stick with that thing that don't eat it if it didn't exist 150 plus years ago. Very wise words to follow. Did it exist 150 years ago? Yes, it did. It's okay. Did this stuff? No, it didn't exist. Like, don't eat it then. Pretty simple. Basically just keto. No carbs. I'm going to fix some bacon tonight. Man, oh man, I love crispy bacon. Woo! Oh man. Great. Crispy bacon. Ooh wee. You could eat all that you want. You put in a whole pan worth, and once it sizzles down to the crispy stage, 80% of it vanished in the wind. I was like, where did it go? There's nothing of it left. It's like, you gonna eat all that? It's like, wait for it to get crispy. It'll be 1/4 the size. I love the fact that the new Foundation series, Season 3, is back on. I actually like the Foundation series. I don't know if you've heard about it, based upon the Foundation books by Isaac Asimov. Season 3, Episode 1 came out a couple days ago or something. I just got done seeing it. Thanks. Have a lovely day.